Welcome, everybody, to this third episode of The Devotion. And I'm here today, and I'm so glad to be back. I missed last week. Things just got in the way, and I just simply forgot. But I'm back now, and I'm excited to get this done. And this devotion is something I've taught before in my school, and I've had it in the back of my mind, and feel like it's time to be let out. So today, the scripture I'm going to read is in Genesis chapter 41, verse 12 and 13. And there was there with us a young man, a Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream he did interpret. And it came to pass as he interpreted to us, so it was me he restored into mine office, and him he hanged. That is Genesis 41, verse 12 and 13. Genesis 41 talks about when Joseph was in prison and coming out of prison. That is a very unique chapter. And today I want to talk about witnessing in tough times. Witnessing in tough times. In the previous scripture, before Genesis 41, verse 12, you can read about how Joseph was thrown into prison. He was thrown into prison under a false charge and a false accusation, and I don't have enough time to go into that, but you can study it for yourself. Joseph found himself in prison, a place no one wants to be. I want to be in there, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this doesn't want to be in there. Okay? But while he was in prison, a nasty place, a dirty place, somewhere no one wants to be for the prisoners, not made to be comfortable or nice, okay? Something I think a lot of us people mislook, especially in Sunday school, because we get taught this lesson so much, and I've always it went over my head, but we see these big Bible characters come to life in Sunday school, and it's so cool how they did this and that. You know, how Joshua, the walls came falling down, and how Moses parted the Red Sea, and Jesus turning water into wine. It's so crazy, but a lot of times we miss over certain aspects and certain parts about these characters. While Joseph was in prison, he could have become bitter, outraged, and walked away from God's plan. That's something that I don't think I really noticed that much, but it is something that could have happened. He could have become bitter, outraged, and walked away from God. But instead, Joseph was used by God to interpret the dreams of Pharaoh's butler and Pharaoh's baker. Okay, these were the chief butler and the chief baker. These were the top guys for Pharaoh. And both of the interpretations that Joseph interpreted became true. Okay, there was one night, maybe a daytime, and these guys had dreams, and they were disturbed by them. And Joseph said, "All right, tell me your dreams." And the butler told his, and Joseph said, "Well, in 3 days." And in those 3 days, on the third day would be Pharaoh's birthday. But he said, in 3 days, you're going to be restored back to your office. And he told the butler that. Okay? And the baker heard such wonderful news, so he went and told Joseph. And Joseph said, well, in 3 days, you're going to be hanged and you're going to be charged. Okay? And that's what happened. And we can see that both of them came true as the more you read in Genesis 40 or Genesis 41. So they both came true. The baker would be killed and the butler would be put back to his job. And before the butler went back to his job, Joseph told him, he said, tell the Pharaoh about me and what I did for you. Tell him that I interpreted your dreams when you were disturbed, when you were uneasy about something. But unfortunately, the butler forgot about it as soon as he got to Pharaoh. And Joseph sat in prison for 2 more years before the butler finally remembered and told Pharaoh about Joseph. You know, something I believe is that God erased that memory from the butler, and I'll explain it later as we go deeper into this. In the end, God did use Joseph to witness to Pharaoh, and I thought I was going to go deeper into this, but I'll go ahead and tell y'all. The Pharaoh also had a dream, okay? And he was just like the butler and baker. He was uneasy. He was disturbed about it. And he was like, well, he called in all his top guys, and nobody could interpret his dreams for him. And just like that, the butler remembered it. He said, oh no, Joseph, I completely forgot about Joseph. He said, hey, Pharaoh, I know this guy. He interpreted my dream and told me that I was going to come back into this position and that the baker would be killed. Pharaoh could have also, the plan of God is so amazing because Pharaoh could have also been like, yeah, that's cool, never mind. Just throwing him out. Didn't even care because he could be lying. But Pharaoh was like, well, I probably got no other option, so go ahead and send him in. So, of course, Joseph comes in and interprets the dream, and just like how he did it with the butler and baker, it came true. For when he did this, for when he interpreted to Pharaoh, he's standing in front of one of the most powerful men of that time. He was showing the power of God unto an entire nation. At that time, witnessing to Pharaoh would be like witnessing to the president. Egypt is a type and shadow of the world, and Pharaoh would be the leader of that world. So what would it be here in America, or what would it be overseas in another country? Think about it. So that, to me, that's always, when he witnessed to Pharaoh, he was witnessing to an entire nation, because that interpretation, because he was willing to witness in one of his hardest times and do the work of God. Egypt was saved. Egypt was about to go through a famine, and nobody knew about it until Joseph interpreted that dream. And when he did, through the power of God, he saved Egypt from dying from that famine. Joseph's experience teaches us an important lesson that we all need to realize, and that is, you can be a witness no matter where you are, and I can testify to that. It might be easier to give up or throw in the towel whenever you're struggling, but just like Joseph, you need to remember that you got to fight the temptations. You got to fight back, okay? And in the scripture I read, it says Genesis 41:12, and there was with us a young man. So that's confirmation to me that even us young people, young men, young women, are going to face these hardships and problems and temptations. We've all had bad days, and we will have bad days and hard times. But what we don't need to forget is that we need to keep that Joseph attitude in mind. That we could become bitter. We could become just walk away from God and become sour and just turn away from this. Or we could say, I might be in a bad place, but I can let this get the best of me. Okay, I can let this get the best of me. Or I can just continue to be willing to serve God and witness to others. People are watching how we handle these situations, so we must continue to witness and tell people about Jesus. And that is something we all can do. That is something that we should all do and need to do. People watch how we look, how we act. If they see that we're miserable Christians, what makes them think they want to join us? If their life's already hard, they're like, well, look at that Pentecostal, or look at that Christian, look at that whatever. He is miserable. Man, he is so miserable. Why would I want to turn to their religion? Why would I want to be a Christian and serve God when I'm already going through a hard time? So that's why it's important to always be able to witness and be happy about serving God at all times. I thank you for listening to this podcast, and I've quite enjoyed this. I've always enjoyed doing podcasts, and thank you for listening. Thank you for the support and supporting me, and for all the comments that people has given me about how great they enjoy this. Thank you so much. Until next time, have a great day, and may God bless.